Your parents are going to be free and clean, and I hope we can do it by tomorrow. Wish them a good life.
Both my parents are coming home tonight or tomorrow. I still don't believe it's real.
What we will not do is we will not break.
Today, we're really zeroing in on a pretty major headline. The pardon of Todd and Julie Chrisley by former President Donald Trump.
Yeah, that definitely caught a lot of attention.
It did. So we've gone through the details, mostly from a Key People article. And, our mission here is pretty simple. We want to give you the essential facts, kind of understand the timeline, and grasp the immediate impact of this decision. Ready to get up to speed.
Absolutely. So the core fact, the starting point, is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. That's when former President Donald Trump issued a full pardon. And that was for both Todd, who's 57, and Julie Chrisley, 52.
A full pardon. So just to be clear, that essentially means what exactly?
It basically wipes the slate clean, their convictions, their sentence is gone. Legally, it's as if it never happened.
Right. Okay. And just to remind everyone what led up to this, Todd and Julie, they were convicted back in 2022, wasn't it?
That's correct, 2022.
And the charges were tax evasion and bank fraud. Pretty serious stuff.
Very serious federal charges, yes. And they actually started serving their prison sentences in January 2023.
Okay, so they've been in prison for a while. The initial reports mentioned a combined sentence of 19 years.
Yeah, that 19-year figure was the combined total of their initial sentences. They were individual, of course. And it's worth noting, those sentences were actually reduced somewhat back in September 2023.
Ah, okay, so they got reduced, but they were still actively serving time when this pardon came through.
Exactly. They were serving time for these federal convictions. And, it really highlights the power of a presidential pardon, especially in such a high-profile case.
It definitely grabs your attention, no question. Now, it seems the former president didn't just, sign a piece of paper quietly. The article mentions he actually commented on it.
He did. He's quoted as saying they received pretty harsh treatment, based on what I'm hearing. That's a direct quote reported.
Huh. Harsh treatment. And then there's the other detail. Apparently, he actually called the Chrisley children.
Yes, that's in the report, too. A direct phone call to the kids. Apparently, Trump assured them their parents would be released.
Yeah.
He reportedly said something like, it was a terrible thing, but it's a great thing because your parents are going to be free and clean.
Wow.
And he even hoped it would happen quickly. It's quite unusual, that level of direct communication from a former president in this context.
Especially since he apparently said he doesn't know them personally.
Exactly. Makes it even more noteworthy.
You can only imagine receiving that kind of call. So, okay, let's shift to the immediate aftermath. How did the family react? Specifically, their daughter, Savannah Chrisley. People covered her reaction. Right?
Oh, absolutely. She was on Instagram Live pretty quickly, it sounds like. And the reaction was just pure relief and gratitude, really. She expressed huge thanks to President Trump, saying her parents get a chance to, quote, start their lives over.
Makes sense after everything.
Yeah, she said her phone was going bananas with the news. And then in a separate statement, she talked about, fighting for their freedom for 2.5 years.
2.5 years, yeah.
And she called the answer to countless prayers. You can really feel the weightlifting just from the quotes. The depth of her commitment is clear.
Definitely. And she also made a comment about the process itself, didn't she? Something about the administration.
She did, yeah. It was quite pointed. She said, this administration does not hand out favors. It examines the facts and stands up for what is right.
Okay. So framing it as a decision based on a review of the case facts from her perspective.
That's certainly the implication, yes. And she also made sure to thank some specific people.
Oh, like who?
Alice Marie Johnson, who, is a really well-known advocate for criminal justice reform herself, famously pardoned by Trump earlier.
Right, I remember her story.
And also their attorney, Alex Little. But importantly, Savannah didn't just leave it at her family situation.
What do you mean?
Well, she made it clear that, while this is a huge personal victory, her fight isn't over. She talked about continuing the fight against wrongful convictions and injustice more broadly.
Ah, okay. So this personal experience seems to have fueled a larger purpose for her.
It really seems that way. It connects their specific case to those bigger conversations about the justice system.
Interesting. Now, for anyone who maybe wasn't following the Chrisleys before all the legal drama, they were famous for a reason, right?
Oh, yeah. They had that reality show on USA Network.
Sure.
Chrisley Knows Best. It ran for years, gave a sort of manufactured glimpse into their family life. That's how most people knew them.
Right, the show. But the legal trouble actually started even before the conviction, didn't it? The indictment was earlier.
Much earlier, yes. The initial indictment for these charges, the tax evasion and bank fraud, came down in August 2019. So this has been hanging over them for quite some time.
And the legal process itself after the conviction wasn't straightforward either. There were appeals.
That's right. It got a bit complicated. Initially, Julie's appeal had some traction. There was a finding of potentially insufficient evidence related to one aspect. Todd's appeal, though, was upheld. But then, later, a different judge reviewed Julie's situation and basically ruled that her original sentence was, in fact, appropriate. So it was a bit of a legal back and forth.
Sounds messy. It really shows how complex these things can get within the system.
Definitely.
And beyond the courtrooms, the impact on the family must have been immense. The article mentions Savannah taking care of her younger siblings.
Yes, a huge point. While Todd and Julie were in prison, Savannah took on guardianship of her younger brother, Grayson, who's 19 now, and her niece, Chloe, who they were raising. She's 12.
Wow, Savannah was only, 25 when that happened? That's a massive responsibility to suddenly take on.
Incredible responsibility, especially while also navigating her parents' appeals and, advocating for them. It shows remarkable resilience.
And the article mentions her podcast too, right? Unlocked with Savannah Chrisley. Had she talked about seeking a pardon before?
She had, yes. On her podcast, she'd previously discussed the possibility, specifically mentioning hoping for a pardon from President Trump. So this wasn't entirely out of the blue as a potential strategy they were exploring.
Okay, so she put it out there. And her support for Trump was public too, I think. Didn't she speak at the RNC?
She did. She spoke at the 2024 Republican National Convention. And in her speech, she specifically referenced her parents' situation, framing it in the context of justice system issues.
So for people following closely, this pardon probably felt like a culmination of those public efforts.
Precisely. It seemed like part of a concerted effort, yes. And looking ahead, it seems like the Chrisleys aren't exactly going to shy away from the spotlight now.
Oh, what's happening?
Well, the article mentions a new docuseries. It's coming to Lifetime, kind of positioned as a successor to Chrisley Knows Best and Growing Up Chrisley.
Another show. What's the angle this time?
It's supposed to show the, quote, raw truth of their lives during this whole ordeal. Interestingly, the original plan for this series apparently didn't feature Todd and Julie heavily because, well, they were in prison.
Ah, so this pardon completely changes the game for that show then.
Completely. Their return home will undoubtedly become a central, if not the central, storyline now. The dynamic has shifted dramatically.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the core points here. We have the full pardon for Todd and Julie Chrisley, granted by former President Trump on May 27, 2025. This ends their prison time for the 2022 tax evasion and bank fraud convictions.
Exactly. It's a major turning point in a legal saga that really kicked off with that 2019 indictment.
And we've seen the immediate reaction, particularly from Savannah, the relief, the gratitude, but
also her commitment to keep fighting for broader justice reform. It really underscores how these high-profile personal battles can intersect with and maybe even fuel larger societal discussions about fairness and the legal system.
So for you listening, what does this all mean? Well, you've got the key facts now. You know about the pardon, the timeline, the original charges, the reactions, all drawn from that P. Pulley article. It really makes you think, doesn't it? About the immense power of a presidential pardon, about the complexities of our justice system, especially when fame is involved. It kind of leaves you to ponder that intricate dance between celebrity, the legal system, and executive power in today's world. Something to consider.